It's 7 o'clock. Please call our meeting to order. Please rise and join with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Al Poole.
Here.
David Walker.
Here.
Soren Peterson.
Here.
Chuck Schultz.
Here.
Mike Cunningham.
Here.
Jennifer Eden. Here. And I'm here.
Do we have any changes to the agenda? Take a motion.
So moved. Support.
Been motioned and supported to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The agenda is approved. Next is approval of the consent agenda, the regular board meeting minutes from August 21st, 2018, and the clerk's warrants and bills.
So moved.
Been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next is communications. Item number 1, notice of Spectrum Digital Education Grant Program, August 21st, 2018, and the Planning Commission meeting synopsis from August 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
It's been motioned and supported to receive communications 1 and 2, place on file. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Good evening, Mr. Perry.
Good evening, Mr. Cunningham.
How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Glad you could be here. Public remarks. This is the opportunity for the public to make any comments that they like about anything on the agenda or anything in general. So, sir, I think you wanted to talk about the speed limits. And
Yeah, it's Larry Shoemaker, 10064 Carmer. And I'd like to see about getting the speed limit reduced on Carmer. As it is now, it's 40. Most of the people in the morning, I would say, do at least 50. There's been times, several times, that I've been passed on this road, even though there's no passing. It happened to me on 3 different occasions, and along with the other comments I get because I'm going 35. So we've added 6 houses to that road in the past year. The houses that are there, if you're familiar with that, you know there's hills. There's driveways that come out onto these that you don't see them. I think 3 garbage disposal companies that use that road now. And when they stop, if people are coming down that road at 50 miles an hour and come over the hill, I've seen that slam on brakes where we have quite a few more people that walk that road at night. And most of the houses are on 200-foot lots, and there's quite a few houses on that road and people coming up, and now we've added more kids, high school kids, buses. I just think the people that cut through there, what they do is they cut through on Hartman. And those are the people that you're going to get doing 50 and 60 miles an hour down that road. Hopefully, if we can reduce it a little bit more, I'd like to see 30, but I don't know about that. But you've got White Lake Road, the same little stretch between Runyon Lake and Carmer, which is 35. I don't know if they do that for the people that are on there, but you've got just as many houses on Carmer as you do there. So if we could do anything of bringing that down, I mean, like I said, there's more school kids walking. My wife and I walk. We know at least 10 other couples that walk that road. I've been run off I walk off to the side, but when people pass you at 60 miles an hour, even though you're 3 foot off the road, that's a little bit alarming. So if we can do anything about that, I would appreciate it.
thank you. Anyone else? All right, since we have no public comment, we're going to go to unfinished business, new renovated township hall. Last we were talking about this other property over here off Center Road. Phil had told us that it would cost us roughly $150,000 for site prep on that. And I talked to the property owner, and with what he was thinking for land value, that would be over $300,000 just for us to get site prep. He did say that he's doing some tree clearing in the back, and he said, you might want to wait till I do that. So, I mean, I still think that that's a significant income for not an ideal site or a significant expense. However, I think what I'd like to do is continue looking and see if he does enough tree clearing to make it worth our while to talk to him about it. You know, he wanted roughly, I don't want to give his number away, but you know, like I said, it'll push us just over $300,000. So
It's going to be a lot of trees.
yeah, there is. So I'd like to see what he's going to clear, and then possibly, he said, you know, that might be a good time to come look at it, because I'll have the drive cleared out and stuff, so that's going to happen in October. So I'm continuing to looking to see if there's anything else that's suitable. I do have something I want to kind of talk to Phil about it and see what he thinks, but might be something. They don't have it listed, but that person is currently selling off a bunch of property, so they might be interested in this one. It's a little bit better chunk. It's flatter. It does have some water and some regulated wetland in it, but I think that's overcomable. So we'll take a look at that as well. So that's kind of where we are right now. I just haven't found anything on the market that's suitable at this time. So I think what it's going to be is we're going to have to, you know, start looking to see who's got a suitable site and willing to sell. So I'll keep working on it. Okay, on to new business. We have Joe from Gabbridge and Company. He's going to do our township audit presentation.
Good evening. I would like to thank the board for allowing us to be able to serve as your clerk permit. It remains a pleasure working with the staff. Everybody's very professional, very courteous. The process went very smoothly, not only with the township staff, but as well as with plant. Everybody did a wonderful job. We didn't have any proposed adjusting journal entries as part of the audit process, which is rare. Certainly demonstrates to us a high degree of quality in terms of the numbers that were provided to us. And accordingly, in this entire audit report, the most important pages, or the most important paragraph, is on top of page 2. That's where we render our opinion, and it's a clean opinion. The highest level of opinion that auditors can provide is an unmodified opinion. It doesn't sound flattering, but that is the highest level that we can provide. And it means that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township as of March 31st, 2018. We've had some clients that are larger than the township with more resources that have had adverse opinions or qualified opinions. It does mean something to achieve the clean or the unmodified opinion, but at the same time, it should always be the township's goal to get that unmodified opinion. Then going through the rest of the report, I'll cover just the highlights. And starting on page 5, we get into the management discussion and analysis section of the audit report. It's about 10 pages. It explains how all of the financial statements relate to each other and the different perspectives that each of the statements provide. As you continue on throughout the report, the reason that I like pointing this out to readers is because it gives financial highlights. You get to see some 2-year comparative information to get a little bit more historical context as to what the numbers mean. And there's a brief explanation explaining some of the significant reasons for the changes in the numbers. So first, going through these financial highlights on page 5, the assets and deferred outflows exceeded the liabilities and deferred inflows by $18,593,000. It doesn't mean there's $18.5 million of cash, but it does mean if we were to take theoretically all the assets of the township and sell all the liability or pay off all the liabilities, there'd be about $18.5 million theoretically left over. The next number down in that first bullet point is $8.5 million of unrestricted net position, and that's a better number in terms of what is the liquidity of the township as of March 31st, 2018. So there's fewer constraints. The $18.5 million represents infrastructure and things that aren't necessarily spendable. The $8.5 million is more liquid. Second bullet point down shows that the governmental funds have fund balances of $8.3 million, which was an increase of $885,000 during 2018. And that's on the modified accrual or the cash basis of accounting. We're looking just at the funds. So how much cash came in versus cash out during the year. Basically $885,000 more cash came in versus cash out. So that's certainly a good sign, and that led to an ending fund balance of $8.3 million. In the third bullet point, when we back off all the committed and assigned and restricted fund balances and the non-spendable fund balance, in the general fund, the unassigned fund balance, or the amount that's left over to cover the day-to-day cost of operating the township, the utilities, wages, things of that nature, there's $1.67 million of unassigned fund balance. When we take that number and divide it by the annual general fund expenditures, the township has 162% in reserve, so about 1.6 years worth of buffer sitting in the unassigned fund balance. Not too much, not too little. A lot of our townships fall in that range. It certainly is a nice cushion to have, especially with looming capital projects, things of that nature, as those can quickly eat away at fund balance. Next, if you turn to page 8, you can see the comparative assets and liabilities and net position for each of the past 2 years. And I'll just cover a couple quick items here. First, there's several cash and cash equivalent and investment lines, but if we look at all of the cash and investments, there was an increase of $865,000 of cash and investments during 2018 compared to 2017, which of course is a good trend. And then 2 rows up from the bottom, the unrestricted net position as of March 31st, 2017 in the total primary government, which is the very last column, was $7.25 million. That number increased to about $8.5 million. So roughly a $1.2 million increase in the unrestricted net position. So cash investments increased, unrestricted net position increased, 2 very good signs. This is still on the accrual basis of accounting, so we're taking into consideration long-term debt, fixed assets, things that we're looking at a very long-term focus when evaluating the financial condition. The next page, page 9, shows revenues and expenses. This as well is on the accrual basis of accounting. This shows revenues, expenses, and the overall increase in net position. Again, this is a long-term perspective, so debt service payments that the township is making throughout the course of the year, those are going to the statement of net position and reducing liabilities. They're not being reflected as an expense. Fixed assets, capital assets are being expensed over their useful lives, things of that nature. But the total government, the last 2 columns show that in 2017, 3 rows up from the bottom, the change in net position was a favorable $679,000, and that compares to a favorable $497,056 during 2018. So back-to-back years of increasing net position for the township. Now if you turn a few pages to page 17, we get a look at the fund financial statements. So I would think of this as being cash basis, not quite, but here the focus is very short term. How many assets, immediate assets, cash and short-term receivables does the township have as of March 31st, 2018 to cover the immediate liabilities of the township as of March 31st, 2018. And the leftover balance is referred to as fund balance. So in the general fund, we can see that there's $6.98 million of total fund balance. And if we back out the non-spendable, committed, and assigned, we see the $1.674 million of unassigned fund balance. And then all of the other funds have, the Public Safety Fund has $798,500 of fund balance. All of the other funds are considered non-major funds and get aggregated into one column. They have $519,847. Altogether, we get to the $8.3 million of total fund balance across all the funds of the township. If you turn 2 more pages, we get a look at the revenues versus expenditures, and I would think of this as this is still on the modified accrual or the cash basis of accounting. So you can see the changes in fund balance during 2018, the general fund. We can, 4 rows up from the bottom, there was a $791,027 increase in the general fund's fund balance. And if we look at the public safety and other governmental funds, they too had increases of $68,864 and $24,857. Altogether, the increase across all funds was $884,748 during the year. So when we talked about the net position increasing, when we look at the short-term focus, the funds are showing an increase in fund balance as well. So long-term and short-term, we can see an improving financial condition for the township. And the last thing that I wanted to point out is all the way on page 43. of the things that we take a close look at when we're evaluating how well our clients monitor their financial conditions throughout the course of the year and how effectively their controls are operating is their budget data report. We like to see clients that have few, if any, budgetary exceptions, and you can see here that every department of the township during during the year ended March 31st, 2018, every department came in or below its budgeted expenditures, which is certainly a good sign in terms of prudent financial management. It's always tells us a lot about our clients, how actively they're managing their finances throughout the course of the year. So those are the highlights I wanted to cover. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions the board might have.
I know you mentioned back, if you don't mind, on page 5, you talked about the 162% of general fund expenditures. Is
Yes.
there, I mean, I know it's a range and it's a comfortability level which with every different municipality, but is there a gap number or a gap percentage that you want to fall within in order to not be, overspending, but at the same point, not banking so much money that it seems frivolous? I mean,
Sure.
there's got to be a tipping point
Sure.
somewhere in there.
What I typically recommend to my clients is to take a look at their long-term capital improvement plans and understand what type of projects are coming down the pipeline. Do they have enough fund balance to be able to cover that? That's really the primary item to take a look at. We do have several clients that are very small townships, and they might have 4 years worth of fund balance, but 4 years worth of fund balance might be $500,000.
Yeah, that's
And all it takes is one road project and it chews it all up.
Right.
And then we have counties that have a $100 million budget in their general fund that they might only need 10 or 12% because that's millions of dollars, and they've got plenty of buffer. So it really depends on,
So the answer is there isn't.
it depends. It's kind of a lousy response, but I would say it really just depends on
Okay.
what type of projects are looming.
Okay.
I would say that, a benchmark for most any business is to have at least 1 year's worth of operating cash on hand, readily available. We're above that, but we also have a lot of future projects that we're looking at.
Oh, yeah, no,
We have
I get
roadworks,
the
building
logic behind
improvements, so-
maintaining it. I was just curious more than anything else. Because you're right, we have road projects with this thing.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I get that.
continue to build that up until that time.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a wasted trip if you didn't get at least one question from us.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Anyone else have any questions for Joe?
No.
That's great. So, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank
All
you.
right, enjoy your evening.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's always good news. Good work, everybody. Item number 2 is the Becker boundary realignment request. Al, are you ready to speak to that?
Yeah, this one was a fairly straightforward one. It just, nothing changed as far as access to the property. One property's in the rear of the other property, and they just moved the boundary, added a few acres to one and took away. So really wasn't a big deal, and they got everything in place that we were looking for. So I'd make a recommendation that we approve the Becker boundary realignment.
So is that recommendation also your motion?
That's my motion.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the Becker boundary realignment request. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. It seems I've seen this one before. This is the Rex Land Division. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, this is a little bit bigger project here. I think there's 105 acres or so, 13 parcels it's being divided into. We just had a couple things that need to be cleaned up, and that was taken care of, so I think we're in good shape on this one. I would make a motion to approve the Rex Land Division.
Been, okay, support. Motion and supported to approve the Rex Land Division. I have one question. Is the scale on this survey correct? one at 500.
Scale on the front sheet? Yes.
Okay, and then the next one's one at 200.
Correct.
Perfect. I have no further questions. So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. There you go, Wayne.
Thank you. Next time, we'll make sure we spell Tyrone correctly
Yeah.
the first time. around.
That would be good.
Kind of an embarrassing error. Thank you.
You know,
Try not to make it 3 syllables.
it just shows you're human like the rest of us.
That's right.
Business number 4 are zoning ordinance amendments. The first one is proposed non-conforming structure regulations. You want to talk about that out real quick?
Yeah, this is, every once in a while, we'll have a case where tornado or high winds, fire, something will, take care of a garage or an outbuilding that has been there for years, but it's now would be non-conforming with today's standards, and we see this around the lakes a lot where there's small lots, and so we're trying to provide a way for people to be able to rebuild those.
I think we recently had a situation on Lake Tyrone and Runyon Lake, and it was
Yeah.
due to the same storm, and there were fires on non-conforming accessory structures that burned them to the ground. So they had to come in and get approval for it. And actually, I think we did a kind of a administrative deal with those until we got this passed, if
Right.
you recall, so.
This gives them a way to rebuild those structures. And,
Existing structures prior to the damage.
Right.
No, they have, within 12, there's a time limit though, they can't wait 2 years.
yeah, it's within 12 months.
months.
I
12
believe.
months,
Yeah, and they also can't expand a nonconformity, they have to meet the certain criteria to go to the ZBA to expand a
Right.
nonconformity.
I had a little bit of a concern about the wording, and it's on the second page. It's B2.
Can you scroll down to it?
Yeah, but,
Because mine's tiny for some reason.
okay.
You talking line 2?
Talking
B2?
right here, where it says may be considered a catastrophic, they struck through event. I don't think event should have been struck through. And then it says owner of the structure did not intentionally cause of the damage. I think the of should come out. I think the of should come out and event should stay in. And then we also need to make sure that we add that new section, because that is not in here. That should come after, it should come in here. There's 3, and it's section 4, so that should come like in here.
I'm missing something. Where's section 4 coming from?
From here, from the letter.
From the cover letter.
Gotcha.
It
On
just
the
didn't
cover
get
letter, but
put
not in the
into the actual
Gotcha.
ordinance.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's in the
The-
cover letter, but not in the ordinance.
The reconstruction period.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Not to be that guy, but who gets to decide whether it's a catastrophic event or not?
The building official or the zoning administrator, right? It's the building official
Yeah.
or...
I'm not sure. Do we have that in there?
I don't remember reading it.
Why does it have to be a catastrophic event? And what Dave is saying, why not,
You've already enumerated events that are
Uncontrolled.
above, so. Catastrophic just seems like hyperbole that you don't need. You could just say considered an event.
Well,
Be
they
demonstrated.
define catastrophic event in its occurrence of wind, lightning, tornado, fire, or other natural disaster deemed similar by the planning commission which results in damage to non-conforming structure.
Okay.
So the planning commission, or lightning, or tornado, or fire determine that.
I think that covers it. Yeah.
Innocent.
Is my right to rebuild this structure transferable?
But as long as it was done within 1 year.
Okay. I'm just asking, if I sell the property 1 month after the event, do my rights transfer to the new owner? I'm just trying to.
There's nothing in here that mentions it, so I would say, it says that you have 1 year to rebuild it.
Right,
So
but I
if
just
you're
sold
taking,
it,
if
it's
you're
no
ta- if
longer.
you're taking an insurance check and running, I guess that's really got to be worked out at title stuff. so.
Never happens, Frank. I'm just saying.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
it's possible that you're in the middle of a sale or
Yeah, that's
something,
what I
and all of
mean.
a sudden,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say, yeah, I'm not gonna rebuild it. So,
I don't see
Well,
anything in here that would prevent.
okay.
is
that
catastrophic
from
only pertaining to,
Yeah.
like, weather? Or is this
No,
like, say, an
fires, fires.
accident?
yeah, fires in there.
Fires,
There.
fires, tornadoes, winds, lightning.
Tornadoes, winds. Somebody has some weird accident where they drive a vehicle through one whole side of the, that constitute? I
That
mean,
would
is
probably
that gonna be
be-
arguable?
That would be.
Damage such
I-
as vehicular accidents,
Yeah.
vandalism.
Vandalism.
Never mind.
Yeah. I think it's covered there.
I was just questioning whether it's just, if you sold it, if you get a time limit.
Yeah, that's
you
a
can
good
sell it.
question.
I'd say the 12 months.
Yeah, I think if you're within the year, you're
Okay.
good. but-
No, I'm good with that, I just was curious, so.
That's a good question, though.
It was a good
Somebody's
question.
gonna ask the knucklehead question, so.
So,
You wanna do
Marcy,
these-
were you making a motion on that
Wanna
with
do
the
these
changes?
individually?
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Do
we're
we
doing it-
wanna-
We're doing them individually. They have to be individual resolutions for each
Do they
one.
have to be individual resolutions?
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and resolve it with those changes?
I mean, they're so small. You want,
Let's just do it as an individual resolution. That way we got a better track record of it. It makes it cleaner.
Go ahead and
I
resolve
prefer
it
to
with
do it
those
like
changes
that.
and I'll support it.
okay, I resolve to approve the non-conforming structures ordinance with the changes that we discussed, the minor changes that we discussed.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported
Of course,
to
Terry has those down in detail, so.
approve the non-conforming structures ordinance with the amended changes. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Al Poole,
Yes,
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz.
Yes.
David Walker,
Yes.
and I say yes.
All right, next is section 4.03, special land uses in FR and RE, which is amendments to the commercial recreation area special land use regulations.
yeah, and what this is about, we continue to find that people find different ways of using their property. It may be some sort of a rock wall or a wedding or whatever, or zoo, or, you just never know. So we tried to put some better guidelines in there for how we can accommodate these people that want to, have a corn maze or something and use their property for events like that. So, we just, wanted to cover some traffic conditions and times of use, just things that will protect the community, the people around them, and so that's what this is about.
Perfect.
Yep, I would make a motion that we resolve to adopt the commercial recreation area special land use regulations.
I'll support.
It's been resolved and supported to amend the commercial recreational area special land use regulations. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz.
Yes.
David Walker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden.
Yes.
Al Poole,
Yes.
and I say yes.
The next one is proposed amendments to the permit detached accessory structures on adjacent lots. This one was kind of directed by the township board at our joint meeting. So I think we're all pretty familiar with this one. I don't know, do we need to go into a big review, but if somebody would like to make a motion on it, we can do that.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to adopt the amendments to the permit detached accessory structure on adjacent lot lines. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden.
Yes.
Al Poole,
Yes.
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz.
Yes.
David Walker,
Yes.
and I say yes.
Is that it?
That should be it.
That's it.
It's not paper.
Yeah.
All right. Next is appointment to the Planning Commission. As you know, we lost a longtime friend, Cam Gonzalez, recently to pancreatic cancer, and was looking to find his replacement, and had an application, and person that I know a little bit of, her name is Kim Veenstra. She lives over on Fawcett Road. She works for a builder. She does horse training. She's a go-getter. She's very sharp. A little bit of a fire plug, and I think she'll bring a great element to the Planning Commission. Having someone that works as a builder on your Planning Commission is an element that we're kind of missing right now that I think will be very helpful. We've got 2 engineers, now we got a builder, so they know how things work and some of the obstacles and hurdles that they have to go through, so I think that would be a great addition to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, I do too, from what I've read, so.
She's really wanting to do it, so.
Did you get anybody else interested in doing it?
Nobody else was interested. I haven't got any applications.
I mean, I'm not shocked. I'm not bowled over by that. I'm just curious.
It does. It takes a little bit of time.
Oh, yeah. No, I get that.
And it takes a certain individual. I mean, you can get people with their own agenda, or you can just have people that have great skill sets, and then you never know. And you try and weed through these and find the person that you think is going to best serve their community as a whole, not their own special interests. And I think that we have this here.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to appoint Kim Veenstra to fulfill Cam Gonzalez's term. I believe this term will expire next year, so it'll be basically for 1 year. So, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Next is the discussion on speed limits. There is a process in place for this. Get stuck on the back of that package. So, for paved roads, speed limits are based on prevailing speeds. They would have to collect speed data with radar guns and prevailing speeds to meet criteria for a speed limit change. And then they would share the results with the state police and ask them for a formal review. On gravel roads, the only option for posting speed limits is a statute created by the legislator that requires a certain number of driveways within a specific distance of roadway. The higher the density of driveways, the lower the speed limit number. If it meets the driveway requirements, our board can approve an order without state police involvement. If it does not, we cannot post a speed limit.
But that's just gravel roads?
So in either case, they just need an email from our office asking them for review. I think there's two aspects from ours. One, we always have to look out for the best interest of our community. Some people have a desire to have speed limits changed. Some don't. So we don't have a policy in place on how we would do this. We know what the road commission is. I mean, do we want to hear from a group of residents? We wanted to circulate just a petition to initiate the email. How do we want to go about doing this? You know, it was something I was really thinking about during this process. It's like, are we just going to take the initiative to do it and then have a bunch of residents upset? I don't know if that would be the case, but that's always an option. You know, we had Mr. McIntyre in here last week for the Lake Tyrone area. And, you know, I think that those lake communities, you know, we have, some of them only have 50-foot, 45-foot wide lots, and there's density there. Right. So those kind of make sense, but...
Well, and to Mr. Shoemaker's point earlier, I think you've got more density on Carmel Road than you did 15 years ago.
Right, yeah, and you know...
A lot of driveways there.
There are a lot more
You know,
driveways there.
in our prior census, we went from 7,000 to 10,000. Now we're probably going to go 10 to 12, 13,000. I mean, we're not a little township anymore. We're not a giant one, but we're not a little one anymore. We're a medium-sized township in the scope of things. You know, and we're becoming, you know, larger and larger all the time. So,
And I also can't walk on the sidewalk over there.
Yeah.
We don't have any sidewalks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My
say, what
point is,
sidewalk?
there are no sidewalks.
Right.
Yeah.
You do so at your own peril.
you do.
We get a lot of
You've got
people.
enough density there, and then you've got people that, you know, want to walk. I mean,
I think if you
Get a lot
have
of people walking, running.
If you have complaints, I think that it definitely warrants an email.
Sure.
Granted,
So
it's
many-
one person, but-
How many, you know, I would like them as a written complaint, and how many do we need? They can go right on our website, fill out a written complaint, and all it has to be is lower the speed limit on the lake or on Carmel Road, lower the speed limit on this road, and, you know.
Well, even if we get a complaint and we send the email to have them look at it, it doesn't mean that we have to change the speed limit, does it? Can we just gather the data and say this is what is being recommended that we do, or, I don't know.
I don't know. I could ask the road commission how other communities do it.
We kind of have our engineers sitting here that can overlook, maybe kind of look at our maps and see if there's something there that sparks interest that we should probably check into. And unless the you know, the wheel starts squeaking, we don't need to oil it. We have people with concerns on their roads, and then maybe we get them to fill out and whatever, but being proactive, maybe there are roads out here that need to be looked at, and we just don't know it. And so if if there's time for our engineer to go and look over the township map and go, are these areas here where the densities are, look at them, review
And
them.
I know where the densities are.
Well, what are the speed
Do
limits
you know how
everywhere? We
other
don't have
communities
that.
approach this?
Yeah, most of them just wait for a group of citizens to complain, and it's usually not one or two, but they get a half a dozen complaints. They'll call the road commission and, you know, ask about it, and that can vary depending on where it is and who's on the road. To go to Marcy's question, just because you guys asked the county to look at it, it may not get changed. There's a very high likelihood. It's when you look at that statute, the
Yeah.
number of
I-
driveways required is substantial. So, and they won't deviate from either the speed study or the statute. They will stay within those guidelines at the road commission.
but it's not as simple as density, right? So
It
if I've
is
got-
on gravel roads.
No, I'm talking about the paved roads. If it's a flat road and you've got a lot of density, that's a very different combination than a road that's undulating, and you now have added a lot of density, right? Because you get driveways now that are blind.
Right.
You get folks coming over hills as opposed to
But-
flat. I mean,
But
so
technically, the
topography's got to factor into it,
it does
right?
not. The
Why
road
not?
commission is looking at site distances
It's the
based on
statute.
those roads. anytime they issue a driveway permit, they're looking at it and they're saying if it's 55, you have to have so many feet of stopping site distance. And they go out there and check it. If it doesn't have it, they don't issue the permit for the driveway.
Okay.
So theoretically, every driveway that comes in there, and if you've come in the last 20 or 30 years, that's almost assuredly the case. Anything that's come in there in recent years should have appropriate stopping site distance for that, so that takes the topography out of the equation. And then anything with hills that are there on existing roads, that's all handled by advisory speed limits in terms of that. So they'll post it as, hill 45 and a 55, but they won't change the speed limit for that.
So if I get a half dozen written complaints, then I'll just send an email over.
Statutes aren't perfect documents, they're imperfect documents. I'm just making a point.
I agree with you 100%. Yes.
I think we ought to look at it at least. Because I think you're right, you've got a couple areas that have had a considerable amount of growth in the community that at least we can look at.
We've had a couple residents show up and they've addressed their concerns, and I've sent an email before to the county to no avail, but I mean, at least we'll do our part. I mean, it's only an email.
Send them another email.
I don't even have to set down my water to send that email.
Sternly worded.
All right, so if you want to be the first one for Karma Road, I know who number 2 will be.
Actually, I know who number 3 will be, so.
Yeah. There's a complaint form, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. Just say name, address. I'd like the speed limit changed on Karma. Send it over to me, and I'll go from there. All right?
There's no extra credit for being elaborate.
All right, we don't have any miscellaneous business. Anybody? No miscellaneous business? Any public remarks? All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So it's been motioned and supported to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries. What a lovely meeting tonight, folks. I love that audit report.
That
was very good.
Exactly. Probably the auditor kept them awake.